Hello, Ken. How about those Michigan Wolverines coming away with the big win against the Washington Huskies? And I know that a lot of people are like, ah, yeah, big win. What you do? Washington isn't as good as everybody thought. They lost to FCS Montana last week. Is it really that big of a win? I would say, yeah, it's still a pretty big win. That's a Power 5 team. That's a team that was rated in the top 25 coming into the season. As a team with NFL talent, that was a team with I mean, really, it was a team with high expectations who stumbled out of the gate. And so, in my video in the pregame, I said that I want Michigan to come out and put their foot on their throat and not let it up. Do not give Washington any sign of life because they have the talent to hurt you if you do. And I felt like Michigan did a good job of coming out and doing what needed to be done. Did they play ultra-conservative? Yes, they did. Do I think it was a bad game plan? No, not necessarily. I would have liked to have jumped out to a bigger lead at the start, but that's really the only thing I can nitpick here. If you can run the ball and be successful at it, then you keep doing it. One of my critiques coming into the season was that I felt like Josh Gaddis oftentimes found something that would work and then would go away from it. And in this case, they didn't. They were getting chunk yards on the ground, and it was moving the football, and so they stuck with it. I don't see a problem there at all. I did see some things that concerned me a little bit with the play calling, and we will touch on that, but we'll start with the good first. Michigan dominated in the trenches. Phenomenal job by the offensive and defensive line. I'll even say the defensive front seven because the linebackers play a pretty big role in this defense. But the offensive line was tremendous. They opened some huge holes. Their pulling was fantastic. They'd pull around the end and seal it. And that really allowed the running backs to bounce out to some big plays. Hassan Haskins continues to be a monster running downhill. I don't know if I've seen him get tackled and pushed backwards yet this season. It's always falling forward, always churning his legs, always moving hard, always running aggressive. And Blake Corum offers you a different dynamic, but he is not one-dimensional. He can bounce it to the outside. He's a little quicker than Hassan Haskins. He's clearly got the breakaway speed, as he's ripped off some monster long runs so far this year. But he will also, when he doesn't feel like he can put a move on a guy and get more yards, or if he feels, you know, he's got 3 or 4 defenders really closing in on him, he's not afraid to drop his shoulder and just fall forward, pick up 1 or 2 extra yards. And I think that's where some of the coaching from Mike Hart is coming in. Mike Hart was really good at doing the same thing, and that's kind of what he's teaching his guys is, you know, not every play is going to be that big home run play. And when it's not, when you feel like the defense is collapsing in and you've kind of run out of real estate, just drop a shoulder, get a couple extra yards, because at the end of the day, those extra 2 yards can make the difference. Blake Corum, even though he's not the biggest guy, he gets his shoulder pads low, and that helps. He gets a couple extra yards. Don't get pushed around. Don't get pushed backwards, and just keep churning your legs. And I think the dynamic duo of Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum has really been special so far to start the season for the Wolverines. Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum vision, their running vision continues to be fantastic. Sometimes the hole isn't there initially, and they'll find a crease. They'll bounce it outside. I'm just really impressed with what I'm seeing out of those two, and I think a big part of that is the coaching from Mike Hart. I thought that was a great coaching move because I think Jay Harbaugh is a really good tight ends coach. I think he was an average running backs coach. And so I think shuffling those things around, bringing in a guy like Mike Hart, who clearly I think is having an effect on this team already, was a good move. I think Jay Harbaugh going back to tight ends is a good move. I love the blocking that I've seen out of the tight ends so far this year. They've showed up a little bit in the pass game. Obviously, the pass game was almost non-existent against Washington because you just didn't need it. But they did show off a little bit in their opener against Western. A couple of the tight ends caught some passes. But I feel like their blocking has really been good, really fantastic. They've kept them in line as blockers for the most part, especially against Washington. They did a fantastic job. Wide receiver is very quiet. Cade McNamara, very quiet. And I do have some current concerns, obviously, at both of those positions. I'll touch on that in a little bit. But that being said, wide receiver group, great job holding your blocks on the outside. It's as important for the wide receiver to block as it is for the offensive line and tight ends, and they did a great job on the edge. Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins don't rip off some of those long runs if the wide receivers don't do their job and get blocks on the corners, or they get upfield and get blocks on the safeties, and that just creates a bigger seam for those running backs to run through. So as much as I might nitpick him a little bit later, great job on the blocking, taking care of your job. It's not always a glorious thing to do, and I know not all wide receivers want to do it, but it is very important, and it really opens up your run game when you have wide receivers that are willing to do the dirty work. Cade McNamara, just a game manager in this one. They didn't ask him to do a lot, and he didn't press it at all. He accepted his role, and that's part of his leadership qualities. You know, if they're going to ask him to come out and hand off the ball 50, 60 times a game, then he's going to do it. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to help this team win. And in some cases, that means you're not going to look really good. But your team got the win anyways, and you did it in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected them to. Defensively, great job. Mixed up coverages, mixed up looks, brought pressure. Pressure got home quite a few times. And I think that hopefully Aiden Hutchinson stays healthy, knock on wood, because he looks like a monster at times. He gets a little quiet sometimes, but sometimes he drops into coverage, so don't read into that too much. Sometimes he's not blitzing, and that's a good thing, because if you just send him on every single play, then teams will definitely account for him. And I like the fact that they're mixing it up a little bit. Corners I thought played well. Safeties I thought played really good. And linebackers I thought they played really good. Josh Ross, his blitzing up the middle became a big problem for Washington. And he's been very aggressive coming downhill and getting after the quarterback. But he also has done a good job of not being a liability in pass coverage so far. He hasn't been tested that much, just because of the teams that they've played, but I thought he's held up pretty well. If I had to pick a weakness from previous seasons, that probably would have been his weakest point, in my opinion, is he gets burned a little bit in pass coverage sometimes, but this year he's been pretty solid, and it helps a lot that he's not being asked to be in man coverage all the time. Having your linebackers be able to just settle down into a zone can help tremendously too. So put them in a good position to make plays, and they usually will. The play calling. Okay, I'm going to start with the defense, because I thought the defense continues to look good. I like Mike McDonald's schemes, and I really like what he's doing with his defense. He's mixing up blitzes. He's bringing pressure, and then he's dropping out into zones. He's really doing a good job of remaining unpredictable. Sometimes he'll blitz on 3rd and long. Sometimes he won't. Sometimes on 1st down he'll blitz. Sometimes he won't. Sometimes they're in man. Sometimes they're in zone. He's doing a very good job of keeping the offense from getting a read on what he's doing. He's not getting himself into any sort of predictable patterns yet. Obviously, the more and more that he calls defenses, the more games they have, the more patterns opponents might find. But right now, I think he's doing a good job of mixing things up and keeping the offense honest and on their heels a little bit. So I got no complaints with Mike McDonald so far. I think he's doing a really good job, especially as a first-time play caller. So no complaints there. Offense, like I said, good job, and kudos to Josh Gaddis for sticking with the run because it was working so well. I know in today's college football it's not sexy, but man, what a dominating way to win. When you just come out and say, we're just going to run it 11 times in a row, we're going to score a touchdown, and you can't stop us. That says something. You don't see that anymore. And for a defense, how demoralizing for an opponent and an opponent's defense when you know they're going to run it. They basically tell you they're going to run it, and you still can't stop it. Kudos to Josh Gaddis for sticking with it. I know it's not sexy. I know Josh Gaddis likes to throw the football, but man, when you're running like that, you just keep doing it. So good job on that. Where was I concerned? When he went to the pass on numerous occasions, he would go empty backfield, or he'd have a running back there, and they wouldn't run any play action. I don't think I saw much play action. When you're running the ball that well, every single pass almost should be a play action out of it. Why wouldn't you? You're killing them on the ground. The amount of times that he would just come out in an empty, okay, well, now you're not running, and now we don't have to worry about it, and you can't run play action out of that look. Why would you do that? When you're dominating on the ground, play action is your best friend, and he never used it. It was straight drop backs. It was empty backfields, and that just I cannot understand that. I can't wrap my head around it. That was an eyesore in my opinion. Just watching the play calling, that drove me nuts. But other than that, hopefully that doesn't happen in the future. Josh Gaddis, if you're watching, he's not watching this video. Play action pass. Play action pass. I understand staying with the run because it was working so well. I have no problem with that. If you want to run the entire game and win a ball game like that, cool. I got no problem with that. But my goodness, when you're going to pass, play action. Or on sometimes, just to keep the defense honest, call play action pass on second down instead of waiting until you're stuck in a 3rd and long when they know you're probably going to pass the ball. Now, they didn't every time. Credit to Josh Gaddis for that. There was a couple times on like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, they'd run the ball and they'd pick up the 1st down. So that's good, but mix in a few more passes in the early downs would be more helpful. And play action, man. Please, play action. I beg of you, play action. When your running game is this good, play action is huge. Trust me. So that's my complaint offensively. Some other concerns I have, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in the pregame for the next one. Cade McNamara, I don't know how I feel about him after this one. Yeah, he's a leader, and I like that. Yes, he did what he was asked. But on the downs when they did pass the ball, didn't look that great. He had a 16.2 quarterback rating after this one. He was 7 of 15 for only 44 yards. 2.9 yard per reception, average. That's abysmal out of a passing game. Some of that I'm going to put on play calling because you could do tremendous favors for your quarterback if you call play action. Please, Josh Gaddis. Sorry, I'm gonna try to let that go. Just dominating on the ground like that and no play action is just mind-boggling to me. But anyways, so I don't think he was put in the greatest position to be successful when they did ask him to pass, but also I'd like to see him make some more plays. Make something happen, even if the play calling isn't great. But he did a good job taking care of the football, so, a little bit of concern there that McNamara didn't really impress at all. Now, and I know, all fairness to Washington's defense, those corners are really good. Yes, they're going to get drafted and they're going to play in the NFL. I have no doubt about that. There was talk coming into this season about them being drafted fairly high. And definitely playing on Sundays, and I can definitely see that. So it was a tough matchup. The flip side of that, too, is it's not all on McNamara, because my other point that I wanted to touch on was the wide receiver core. Got to be better. You've got to find a way to get open. They got no separation all day. McNamara really didn't have anywhere to throw the football, so that's part of the reason why his numbers were so low. Those kind of go hand in hand, and somebody in the wide receiver core needs to step up. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's got to be somebody. I know Ronnie Bell was a huge loss, and this is your first game after losing your leader in that wide receiver room, and that can make things tough. But as a unit, you've got to step up and find a way to win your matchups. Somebody has got to win a one-on-one matchup. You can't all be covered all the time. It's not going to work. So definitely some more work there to be done in the wide receiver room. Yeah, it's a little concerning. Hopefully Michigan continue to run the ball until they get that figured out, or until somebody steps up on the outside as a wide receiver to really make some plays. So those were some concerns, but I mean, Michigan won 31-10, and they did it in dominating fashion. Blake Corum, 21 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8.1 yard per carry average is insane after getting 21 carries. That is nuts. Hassan Haskins, 27 carries, 155 yards, 5.7 yard per carry average, and 1 touchdown. Again, a 5.7 yard per carry average is nuts on 27 carries. 5.7 and 8.1 yard per carry average is domination, the likes of which I haven't seen since, Wisconsin really just running all over a team. I'm trying to think of what you're at with 2016 maybe, when Wisconsin just ran over Michigan and they were in Washington's shoes, knew that Wisconsin was going to run the football and they just couldn't stop it. And maybe the last time I've seen such domination in the running game. But so that was fantastic. Just a few things to watch moving forward. A couple concerns out of the offense, but hey, we got the win. Let's enjoy it. I think everybody thought this was a toss-up coming in, and Michigan really dominated the game, and Washington never really closed the gap all that much. So we'll take the win and we'll enjoy it. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell. And remember, all love all the time. Peace.